Water Ready Act. So we do thank you for all the work.
Je peux être entendu aussi.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to National Child Day, hosted by Children First Canada. Shortly, I will introduce myself and our MC for today's celebration, but first I want to acknowledge the land that we are gathered on. Today's event brings Canadians that are young and young at heart together from coast to coast to coast. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Today, I am in Calgary, Alberta, which is the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani people, Tsuut'ina, Iskia, and Nakoti nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their home in Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. I want to encourage you to take a moment to acknowledge and honor the land that you stand on. If you don't know the traditional territory that you're on, you can find a link below where you can learn more. To honor our commitment to reconciliation, we have invited Elder Verna McGregor to open our time together in ceremony. Verna is on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe. To honor the traditional customs, Verna, I offer you this tobacco, and I invite you to open our time together in a good way.
Hello, I bring you greetings from the Algonquin Nation, of which Ottawa sits on our unceded traditional lands, and I welcome you to the National Child Day. I was offered tobacco here, and I'm just going to do a little opening gathering. First of all, I explain really quickly the significance of Ottawa is that for us, we're known as the river people, and Ottawa, we're known for also the birch bark canoe. So the significance of Ottawa is that you have the confluence of the rivers coming together from the four directions, similar to the medicine wheel here. So Ottawa was and still is an important meeting place to talk about important issues. Most importantly is the importance of our children and the next 7 generations. And the importance also of children being seen and heard. So interestingly enough, one of the teachings of a canoe as being a parent and grandparent is that we give them enough skills and knowledge that they can paddle their own canoe. And that's our biggest responsibility as parents and grandparents to the next generation. So on that note, I'm just going to say a little prayer in our language and to honor our coming together here for the children. So I say, miigwech kjemanida, onjene gashkito chimondose, gonshe nongo mamweka kina pematsijik. Miigwech onje kakina gagishan dan onje mamdege nindikimanan. Miigwech onje kakina etekish gonkizas to be kizas a shetanangshak wido kwaninokamas nan onje onagado wabdan kakina guch nibi pang sing saiban sibi kichigagam. Miigwech onje ya ishkode. Kakimi shen chimino opchitoya. We do kakia kakinan in wagonja nagadawabdanya ishkude. Miigwechonje na 7 kakimi shen chimino pamatsian. We do kakina mamdege akosajik mamwe COVID-19 chin kadik. Miigwechonje kakinan in jinuendagana kakina gujawensi sa kakina guj mashkiki mijashki mitiguk and jasinik kakina guj. Kansheshkwat ningwede simen kego, ashit kana noj kuch ningwede simen. We do kushinina because miigwech. I say thank you. I said thank you to the Creator for allowing us to come together here. Thank you for the earth. Thank you for the air. Thank you for the fire. Thank you for the waters that are all necessary for us to sustain a good life here. And thank you for all my relatives. And we don't ask things in vain, and that we ask that you guide us well on our journey today. And I wish you well on this National Child Day, And miigwech means thank you, merci. Miigwech, that's thank you.
Miigwech, thank you so much, Verna. Well, hello everyone. My name is Sarah Austin. I'm the founder and CEO of Children First Canada, and it is my enormous pleasure to welcome you to our celebration of National Child Day. Today, we're making history. More than 3,000 Canadians are here with us for the biggest celebration of National Child Day ever in Canada. The best part is that the vast majority of people with us today are children and youth, joining us from your classrooms, hospitals, drop-in centers, group homes, and your very own homes. So whether you're 7, 17, or 77, many of you are celebrating National Child Day for the very first time today. Children First Canada is a national child advocacy organization, and we have the bold and ambitious vision that together we can make Canada the best place in the world for kids to grow up. National Child Day is one of my favorite days of the year because it gives us a chance to celebrate all 8 million kids in Canada. It's a day to honor you and to celebrate how amazing you are. It's also a day to celebrate that while each of you is totally unique, you all have something in common, your rights. There's an old saying that children should be seen, not heard, but that couldn't be further from the truth. All children, even the very young, have very strong opinions and views about what's happening in your lives. And you deserve to participate in decisions that affect you in your family, in your school, in your community, and at the highest levels of government. I found this to be true when I was a young child, and I've seen it in the eyes of my 10-year-old and in the eyes of every child I meet all across Canada. Today, we're going to be hearing from some pretty inspirational young leaders and activists, but today is about listening to each and every child in Canada. 2020 has been a hard year for all Canadians, and especially for children. You've made enormous sacrifices to keep your family, your community, and our country safe, and I want to say thank you. During the pandemic, Children First Canada has sought to minimize the impact of the crisis on children. We've brought together leading experts from our Council of Champions, and we've directly engaged children and youth through our Young Canadians Parliament. Together, we have harnessed data and brought forward recommendations to the government to advocate that the decisions that are being made be in the best interests of children. But we're not done yet. Today, I'm very proud to announce that Children First Canada has forged a new partnership with Statistics Canada to explore ways to improve the lives of children right now during the pandemic in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Decisions are being made right now that will change the course of your lives. Decisions about whether schools and daycare should stay open, decisions about how to support parents, meet the needs of your families, and much more. So together with Stats Canada, we will be working to develop data-driven recommendations aimed at policymakers. These timely and evidence-based recommendations will help to guide our nation's policymakers as they make decisions to improve the lives of you as children and your families throughout the pandemic. You can find more information on our website, and we hope you'll join us in this exciting new project. Now, let's get on with today's celebrations. Whether you're joining us from your classroom or your kitchen table, I can't wait to hear what you all have to say. There will be lots of ways for you to speak up and be heard, and you'll hear more about that from our host in just a few moments. And for the adults who are joining us, I want to thank you for taking the time to come together to celebrate and listen to children and celebrate the kids in your life and kids all across our country. Before I go any further, please remember to sign into the chat box to the right or right below your screen, depending on your device. That way you'll be able to see announcements throughout the event, and you'll also be able to join the conversation by posting your questions and comments. Today's event would not have been possible without the generous support of our sponsors and partners. So I want to say a special thank you to our exclusive communications partner, TELUS, to our national partners, Sick Kids, CHIO, Holland Bloorview, CAMH, Abacus Data, the Alberta Children's Hospital Research Institute, and IG Wealth Management. Thanks to our partners, the Railway Association of Canada, Staples, the Hill Times, Twitter Canada, and Kids Can Press. And I'd like to thank our national community activators who have helped to spread the word on social media and who are joining us today. Thanks to our board of directors, and a special thanks to our board chair, Gail O'Brien, for her leadership and generous support. And I want to say a very big thank you to our Youth Advisory Council and to our incredible team of staff and volunteers who've worked so hard to make today so special. While today is a day of celebration, it's also a very sobering reminder that we have a long way to go to make Canada the best place in the world for kids to grow up. Today, Children First Canada released a new national poll of kids across Canada. It's been nearly 30 years since Canada signed on to the international law to protect the rights of children called the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. But in today's poll, we learned some very worrying news. Almost half of Canadian children don't know that they have rights. What's even more concerning to me is that we learn that the vast majority of children don't know what to do if your rights are being violated. Children's rights are violated for a variety of reasons, including your right to an identity. Not only is today National Child Day, it's also Transgender Day of Remembrance, which honors the memory of transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of transgender violence. For me as a parent, let alone as an advocate for all 8 million kids, I worry when I hear that kids don't know that they have rights or what to do when your rights are violated. As parents, as professionals, and as a nation, we can do and we must do better. In the poll, we also heard that one of the biggest concerns that kids have right now is the impact of the pandemic on your education. We know that governments consulted many experts about the school year, seeking input from medical professionals and from teachers in particular. But were governments listening to children and seeking your input? A whopping 76% of you said that the government should have consulted students and saw your input when planning for how to return safely to school this year. You'll hear more about the poll results later on, but I think the message is clear. Kids in Canada deserve better. You are citizens with rights and you deserve to be seen and heard. So today we're here to do just that. One way you can show your support for Canada's kids is by signing our call to action, urging our government to protect the rights of kids. There's a link in the chat box where you can click and sign your name. It takes less than 30 seconds, so please go ahead and do it. We also need your help to take this conversation beyond these virtual walls and engage all Canadians. We're already trending on Twitter, so let's keep that going. If you're on social media, I encourage you to post photos and quotes throughout the event, and be sure to use our hashtag Seen and Heard and to tag Children First Canada. Now, I'm very excited to be handing the mic over to somebody who knows a thing or two about what it's like to be a kid in Canada today. Children First Canada is so thrilled to be partnering with CBC Kids News to bring you this special event, and we are honored to have one of their contributors, Arjun Ram, as our MC. Arjun is 14 years old and he lives in Hamilton, Ontario. You might recognize him from CBC Kids News and from his time as a former competitor for Canada's Smartest Person Junior. He's interviewed the Toronto Raptors' Kyle Lowry in a viral clip, and earlier this year, he hosted a special CBC radio event on racism in Canada. He also had the chance to interview the Prime Minister of Canada and Dr. Theresa Tam this spring, and fielded questions from kids about the pandemic and how it was impacting their lives. Arjun, we are so thrilled to have you hosting us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Sarah, and it's such an honor to be here hosting this virtual event and celebrating National Child's Day. Sorry. And although we all wish to be in person right now, our message for kids to be seen and heard stands more important than ever. It means accepting, acknowledging, and recognizing a child's perspective, who they are and what they care about. Adults have the obligation to accept and understand young people's concerns. If adults see them and listen to them, they will feel seen and heard. My role as a CBC Kids News contributor has allowed me to report on a variety of topics and current events, but it has also created an avenue for young people to feel seen and heard. Kids have shared their knowledge on a variety of topics, which include climate change, the political realm, education, social justice, and COVID-19. During our virtual event today, we encourage everyone to get involved. Whether you're just starting school or getting ready for midterms, you can either do this you can post questions to our speakers, or you can share. Do this through our chat window or through the Children's First Canada Twitter page at childrensfirst.ca. We have an action-packed agenda that I am so excited to get to today, and I would like to formally introduce our first panel, which will focus on what both the private and public sectors have done to assure that children are seen and heard. I would like to formally introduce the Honorable Ahmed Hussein, who is the Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development. Sandy McIntosh, the Executive Vice President of People and Culture and Chief Human Resources at TELUS. And finally, Estelle Kim, who is the National Child Day Activator and Youth Ambassador. Thank you to each of you for participating in today's event and offering your perspectives. And Minister Hussein, I want to start off with you. You have a pretty big job as the Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development. What do you feel your government has done to help improve the rights of children?
Thank you so much, Arjun, and it's such an amazing opportunity to join you and all the panelists and have an opportunity to talk about what our government is doing for Canadian children. Number one, as soon as we got into office, the first thing that we did was make sure that Canadian families who needed a little bit more support got it through cutting their taxes and making sure that they had more money in their pockets. The second thing that we did is we introduced something called the Canada Child Benefit. This means that 9 out of 10 families in Canada have more money in their pocket. So the Canada Child Benefit is meant to support children. And it's meant to support children and enable parents to buy things like extra clothing, put more food on the table, healthy food, buy school supplies. And the Canada Child Benefit is amazing because the government doesn't tax it. It is a tax-free benefit, and we increased that money. So in the past, what used to happen is anybody who had children in Canada would get a child benefit check, even if they were millionaires. But those people don't need help raising children, so we cut those checks that were going to millionaires, and we put that money into the pockets of families who actually needed the help in raising children. The second thing that we've done is we've put a lot of effort to reduce child poverty. So the Canada Child Benefit alone has lifted over 300,000 children out of poverty since 2015. So those are some of the things that we've done. And finally, we've put in a lot of money into housing through something called the National Housing Strategy, because we want to make sure that each and every Canadian, including children, have access to a safe and affordable place to call home. Unfortunately, I know this is a great event and I, of course, want to participate, but I have to jump off at 1:35. So if it's okay, can I get all my questions together that way? I can leave earlier. I apologize. My schedule said 1 to 1:30, but I can stretch it to 1:35.
Yeah, and what you described, it sounds like your government has done a lot. But growing up, uh, going through certain events, experiences, or learning
Yes.
life lessons, how
Yeah.
have those experiences shaped the person that you are today?
Oh, they've shaped me so much. The biggest influence in my life have been the teachers that I've had when I was in school, especially in primary school. I still remember the teachers who taught me math and English and all the other important subjects, and then also high school. So I think teachers are a big part of why children grow up to have a great education and become good citizens. The second thing that I learned, and I think it was mentioned before, is that not a lot of children know their rights. It took me to go to university to actually know that there is something called the rights of children that Canada signed on to. So I think it is really important that we spread that message to more and more kids to tell them that they have rights in law, not just in Canadian law, but international law. And Canada has signed international agreements to respect the rights of children. And children have a number of rights that are in law, but as minister now, I'm working to make sure that children have a safe place to call home. That's really important. If you don't have a home and if you don't have a house, if you don't have a shelter, then you can't really go to school. It's harder to go to school. It's harder to get a job. It's harder to be happy and thrive, right? So housing is a big part of reducing child poverty and ensuring that children are safe. So, for example, early in the pandemic, we put a lot of money into women's shelters because a lot of women were being abused with their children. So there were women with children fleeing domestic violence, but they had nowhere to go. So we put a little bit more money because we knew that unfortunately that would increase. The other thing that we did is made sure that we increased the Canada Child Benefit twice, once in May 2020, and then by providing up to $300 per child for each family receiving the Canada Child Benefit, because we knew that the pandemic had created more
And
expenses for
and, and,
families.
and as we talk about what the government has done during this time
Yeah.
of crisis
Hmm.
to help so many families all across this nation, I
Yes.
think one problem we really need to focus on
Yeah.
is the mental health crisis when it comes
Absolutely.
to young
Absolutely.
people.
You're so right.
We've seen that there's been a dramatic rise in calls for help from kids during this pandemic. As
Yes.
much as we talk about what your government has done to help in so many different problems, what do you think your government can do in order to help kids during these unprecedented times, things that none of us have really experienced ever before?
You're absolutely right, Arjun. Kids are going through a lot of difficult time now during the COVID-19 pandemic. I myself am the father of three young boys. My oldest is 11 and the youngest is 4, and they miss their friends. They
Yes.
miss going outside a lot. They miss meeting their cousins and their extended family members. It's been tough on kids, and so we recognize that, and we are very concerned about the mental health of all Canadians, but especially Canadian children. And so we invested more money in Kids Help Phone because we know that more kids will call Kids Help Phone when they need help, and we need Kids Help Phone to be bigger and stronger so that they can answer those questions and give kids the help that they need.
Yeah.
We also invested a lot of money to create a fund called the Emergency Community Support Fund to support the organizations that are helping kids. Because the problem, Arjun, is that the pandemic not only is hurting kids, but it's hurting the organizations, the good community organizations that are helping kids. So, as a government, we felt that it is important to help those organizations like Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, YWCA, those kinds of organizations that have programs for kids so that they can continue to help kids during the pandemic by giving them virtual programs through the internet, by delivering food and medicine, by creating activities for them that are safe,
Yeah.
by giving them access to different kinds of programs. So by helping the helpers, we make sure that kids are taken care of. But there's
And
more work to be done.
definitely, and I want to thank you for your time. I know you have other things to attend to. I know you're a busy man, so thank you for your time. We appreciate you participating in National Child's Day. And Sandy, I want to move on to you. We were
Thank you
talking
so much.
earlier, with Minister Hussein about big positions, and this can relate to you as well. This can relate to you as well because you serve as the executive vice president of People and Culture and the chief human resources at TELUS. How does your job help the lives of Canadian kids?
So thanks, Arjun. And I get asked this question all the time, what do you do? And in fact, my nieces have been asking me to explain, what do you do for a long time? And this is probably the best way I can explain what we do, what I do, and how we help kids, which is think of TELUS like being a big school. And I work at that school, and everybody at that, I work with amazing people in that school. And what we're trying to do is learn and create an environment that is safe for everyone to be themselves, do their best work, come as they are, connect as a community, keep their health well, have a good, solid mental health, physical health, and be in a position to do good work, and also to do good for the community. So think about me being someone working in that school to do all those things, and that's me at TELUS. And speaking of doing good, that's why we've started the Connecting for Good program, so that all the students in my school at TELUS get to be involved in those programs, which is providing free cell phones and data plans for children that are aging out of foster care that need to have a device and a connection to be socially connected, to work, to get jobs, to get information. We provide internet for good, so access to low-cost internet for families at low income, especially important right now, so that families can stay connected online, kids can go to school, or our Health for Good program, where we provide free healthcare access to children and youth across the country. So it's a little bit of how I would explain what I do.
And as we talk about big positions, I can't go out without mentioning you, Estelle, as well. You serve as the youth ambassador for National Child Day. So what exactly goes in to a position like this? So what exactly do you do?
Yeah, thanks, Arjun. So Sandy mentioned that she does work at the schools. I guess I would be one of the students that she works with. A big part of my job is just trying to encourage youth and to amplify their voice, to get them to participate and speak about what it really means to be seen and heard to them. So under like the recent circumstances, a lot of youth have been using their personal social media platforms to really get their voice amplified. And that's another big part of my job. It's creating social media campaigns, engaging with youth online just to get them knowledgeable about what National Child Day is, about what children's rights in Canada means for them, and also about the importance of celebrating these rights.
And as I got to hear your answers, it's essentially we're talking about growing up in Canada and how important it is that we create a lifestyle for kids in which they can adapt to it and they can thrive. But I want to get both of your responses for this question. Is Canada one of the best countries to grow up in, or would you say this is considered a myth?
Well, for me, I think there's a certain extent of truth and certain extent of myth. Just to that statement, it's very complicated, and I think it's why we're all here today. Canada is a very diverse and, for the most part, a very inclusive community to live in, and I can speak on that as just a youth just growing up in Canada. But like Sarah mentioned before, close to 40% of the children don't really know what their rights are. So I think we are easy just to fall under the myth that Canada is this inclusive society where even the most vulnerable segment, which can be seen as children, are included and do know what their rights are and do know how to be included in their society. I think there's a lot of miscoverage over that part. And I think that's why, all of us are here today just to get the word out about what really it means to be a child in Canada, what it means for every individual to be seen and heard, not only by their community, but by the people who do have the ability to change laws and just to create a better future for those children.
Great answer. And I think, I would say I'm biased because I've grown up in Canada, and I would consider it to be one of the best places in the world for children to grow up. But what I would also say is not everybody gets started off at the same place. Not everybody gets the same opportunities or the same access to healthcare or education or to a safe place to live or access to food in the same manner. And so I think that's where the private sector and companies like TELUS have to step in and help, and other organizations, both public sector, not-for-profit, government. It takes all of us to be committed to making this the best place for all children, not just some children born in some economic conditions, but for all children. And if we do that together, if we're all committed, all organizations, to creating that great environment and safe space, we all benefit. We all benefit as Canadians. So that's why we are so committed to our TELUS Future Friendly Foundation and all the millions of dollars we dedicate every year, specifically to children at youth. Our whole target is youth for that reason. So we need to come together, and certainly I think we do.
And I want to get my last question, and I want to get both of your responses as well. The numbers have been increasing in terms of COVID-19 cases at school. And as COVID cases they start to increase, what advice would you give to kids who are still attending in-person learning? And Sandy, we can start off with you for this question.
So, I think my advice would be for kids still attending in-class learning is to be following the protocols, staying safe. I think we're all getting a little COVID fatigue. We talk about it. I think we started off being really disciplined and understanding we needed to be disciplined in the end of the year. In fact, kids were out of school. I would say have resiliency. We will come to an end of this. This will pass. It's going to make us all stronger. There are tremendous learning opportunities that we're all going to get out of this. And I would say look for silver linings. I think we can all step back, and we know that we're all challenged right now, and we know school doesn't feel like we want it to feel, and we can't do all the things that we want to. It will come back. This too shall pass. But let's think about all the silver linings and the things that we can learn about each other and how we can stay connected in a very special way when we need to the most.
Yeah, and I think like Sandy, I think it's really important that we do continue to be aware and cautious. I know at the beginning, like Sandy mentioned, we were very cautious because we were scared and we were uncertain about what we were about to face. And I think it's very important just to keep that up. And I think because of COVID-19, just as a student going to school myself, I'm learning about what it means to keep others safe, not only myself, because COVID-19 really forces you to be responsible not only for your health, but the health of your family, health of your friends, and all your loved ones that are near you. So I think the biggest message is just to remember that we're all like in this together, as cliche as that sounds. And yeah, just to rely on each other, just know that everyone's in this together and that your actions don't only have an impact on you, but onto your loved ones as well.
Well, I want to thank the both of you for joining us today and offering your perspectives and for celebrating National Child's Day with us, our virtual style. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Arjun.
Thanks, Arjun. Thank you.
And now, as I mentioned before, we want to hear from the young people listening from across the country. So please share what you are doing for National Child Day on Twitter and what being seen or heard means to you. You might have your tweet featured later on in the program. Now, being a CBC Kids News contributor, I've interviewed a few pretty awesome people. But I also have a great group of fellow Kids News contributors that I get to work with, like Sarah Chowdhury. She was one of the first Kids News contributors, and I'm so glad she's a part of our virtual event today. It now gives me great pleasure to share a piece Sarah produced that explains the conventions on the rights.
Water is a basic human right. Everyone deserves access to clean drinking water, no matter what our race or color is, or how rich or poor we are.
The right I'm fighting for is safe education emotionally for people who don't feel very represented in our schools.
I'm fighting for the right to have somebody listen to me and to have somebody to talk to because of mental health.
I am fighting for children's rights to a clean environment.
National Child Day is November 20th. It's a day that recognizes that every kid in Canada has the right to be treated fairly, no matter where they live, the color of their skin, their religion, language, or gender. In fact, children's rights are protected by this international law. It's called the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Canada signed the international agreement around 30 years ago. Almost 200 other countries have also signed. So, what are your rights? Well, they can be sorted into a few different buckets. Number 1, you have the right to access healthy food, safe water, and the best medical care possible. You also have the right to a clean environment. Number 2, you have the right to get an education and to play. If you have a disability, you have the right to get extra support. Number 3, you have the right to be protected from violence, abuse, harm, and exploitation. That applies to both your body and your mind. Number 4, you have the right to be listened to and respected. You're allowed to have a say in the decisions that affect you. Here's another thing you may not know. There are kids in Canada who feel that their rights are being ignored. These teens are fighting to change that.
There's First Nations communities in Canada that are living in third world conditions. Some of these communities over 25 years without clean drinking water. They have to use bottled water every day. And the way I look at it is like there's kids that are my age and younger that grew up not knowing what it's like to drink water from a tap or have it for everyday uses.
I saw that my school wasn't taking serious some things that I found were racist. And that paired with police officers in schools that were coming in with their full armor, like as a position to be education resources, didn't make me feel safe because historically police have not always treated everybody equally.
I was a pretty shy kid, didn't have a lot of friends, and I kept my feelings to myself. A lot of times I felt alone, I didn't have anybody to talk to, and as I grew, that did take a toll on me. And I soon learned that I needed to talk to people to improve my mental health.
I am one of 15 youth plaintiffs suing the Canadian government for their actions regarding climate change. We are suing them for the ways in which they are perpetrating the climate crisis and their inaction to solve the climate crisis as it affects our rights as youth and as citizens of Canada.
These teens say Canada still has a ways to go when it comes to upholding children's rights. In the meantime, they say they're going to keep pushing to make sure that laws, like this one, are honored. Check out cbckidsnews.ca for more on these young activists and what they're fighting for. For CBC Kids News, I'm Sarah Chaudhry.
Well, we want to thank everybody in that video for sharing their perspectives, their stories, and I'm sure everyone watching enjoyed hearing a few young voices. So thanks again. And now, I think we should see a few tweets that some of us sent us on what they're doing for National Child's Day and what being seen or heard means to them. Our first tweet comes from @HannahRoot, who really talks about how our world is changing and how important how important it is to include children in so many says and decisions. And it's a great message, and it's a great message for all the kids watching that your voice matters just as much as adults at times, all the time. Next, we're moving on to @Ali Frampton, who talks about how inclusiveness again, and how I like this line here. If kids are told to sit down and shut up, how can they participate in this right? That's probably the most simple way to sum it up. So thank you @Ali Frampton for that. The great way to just kind of close that up, and a nice gift. That was a great way to say it. Thank you. And also, we want to give a special shout out to some of the schools and youth hospitals across Canada who are participating today for National Child's Day. Some of the schools include the Halton Catholic District School Board, Aspen View Public Schools, Canyon Lister Elementary School, Durham College, University of British Columbia, Carleton University, and the Université de Moncton. Also some children's hospitals, which include CHEO, or the Children's Hospital of East Ontario, Alberta Children's Hospital, Isaac Walton Killam Hospital for Children, located in Halifax, and finally, Holland Bloorview. So thank you to all the children's hospitals and schools for participating in National Child's Day today. Now, as we celebrate National Child Day and hear from young people across the country, I think it's also so important to hear from some leaders in Canada to learn what they are doing for this notable day and how they are supporting children and youth in being seen and heard through their organizations. I would now like to introduce Ariel Siller, who is the CEO of the Canadian Children Literacy Foundation, who is joined by her two children.
Hi, this is our mom, Ariel Siller, CEO of the Canadian Children's Literacy Foundation. We're talking to you from Toronto.
Thank you, and welcome to National Child Day. I'm delighted to be here representing the Canadian Children's Literacy Foundation. We believe that together we can achieve a brighter, more literate future for all children in Canada. And in tandem with Children First Canada, we can make Canada the best place in the world to grow up. As you've probably heard already, the theme for today's event is children being seen and heard. Let's take a step back for a minute and think, what goes into making children seen and heard? And a big part of that is words. We at the Canadian Children's Literacy Foundation believe that our children deserve a solid foundation for a literate mind, simply by surrounding a child with words right from the beginning. Ensuring that they're read to, spoken to, and sung to helps them reach their full potential in school and throughout life.
So everybody should be talking, singing, and reading with their babies?
So if you're a parent, educator, or anyone who has the potential to shape a child's life, make sure that you're reading, speaking, and singing to the children in your life. So let's celebrate the power of words. And thank you so much for joining me and everyone else here for National Child Day.
Okay, my favorite book is Harry Potter. I think it's more of a series. It's the Heroes of Olympus.
Thank you to Children's First Canada for inviting us to join.
Thanks so much to Ms. Siller for being a part of National Child Day. I found that books have made a large impact on my life and my sister's as well. And they've played an integral role in promoting the love for literacy, much like you and your kids mentioned. So thanks to them as well. Next, we are going to learn about Holland Bloorview's Dear Everybody campaign. This is a movement to end disability stigma and increase representation of people with disabilities, including children, in the media. To discuss it further and to share details on the Dear Everybody workshops that are available are Paulina, Asan, and Nathan.
Do you see this?
Now that is what I'm talking about. Dad, you gotta see this.
I can't believe it. That's awesome. So cool. Nice.
This award is for every kid who has a disability.
Hi, I'm Paulina.
And I'm Nathan.
And I'm Essen.
And we're representing Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, Canada's largest pediatric hospital dedicated to caring for kids with physical, developmental, and complex care needs.
Our purpose as a hospital is to create the most meaningful and healthy lives for all children. And over the last few years, we have been challenging stigma for kids and youth with disabilities through our Dear Everybody social advocacy campaign.
The campaign resonates strongly with this year's National Child Day's 2020 theme that children should be seen and heard. In the third and fourth year of the campaign, Dear Everybody has been highlighting the exclusion of people with disabilities from the media landscape and challenging the public to demand representation of disability by signing the Dear Everybody agreement.
This gap between reality and what we see on our screens can make kids with disabilities feel as if they don't belong or that they don't matter. As part of the campaign and to help end stigma, we bring Dear Everybody into classrooms and workplaces and developed engaging content for different age groups. The interactive presentation includes disability education, sharing of real stories and lived experiences of disability, and engaging in classroom activities that help promote a deeper understanding of disability.
As a person with disability, seeing people like myself on the screen is important to me. Fun fact, I was recently an extra on a Netflix show, a fun experience that contributed to increasing representation of people with disabilities in the media, and I'd love to do it again.
I myself am a model with cerebral palsy, and I've experienced some challenges in pursuing this career. Fast forward a couple months later, and I found myself having the honor of not only joining the Dear Everybody team, but also modeling for Roots Canada. As a person, I aspire to become a symbol of perseverance and act as a reminder that you can achieve all you set your mind to, despite the odds that face you.
If you want to find out more or book a Dear Everybody workshop, please email deareverybody@hollandbloorview.ca.
We hope to hear from you soon.
We want to thank everybody at the Dear Everyone campaign for being a part of National Child Day. And I think of my school board, in which they have always promoted inclusiveness to students with disabilities, as well as making sure everyone has equal access to learning. Thanks again for sharing your stories. Dr. Ronald Cohn is the President and CEO of the Hospital for Sick Children, and today he is joined by the Sick Kids Children's Council. They will be talking about what being seen and heard means to them and how it means to their parents, teachers, and medical team.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this year's National Child Day event. My name is Ronnie Cohn, and I have the privilege of being the President and CEO of the Hospital for Sick Children. I hope you don't mind that I've brought some special friends with me as well, our Sick Kids Children's Council. This is a truly wonderful, energetic group of bright young patients and family members who advised the hospital, who advised me personally. So I thought for the National Day of the Child to bring them into the conversation and get their take on how it feels to be seen and heard by the adults in their life. Can you describe in a word or a phrase what it feels like to be seen and heard by your parents, by your teachers, and by your medical team?
One feels respected.
A word that I have is understanding. So understanding how someone feels and what their concerns are and what they need.
I feel like your concerns and your opinion are taken into account by people who do have the power to change things for the better.
Is there a time when you felt like your medical team really took your wishes under consideration?
I don't have a negative thing to say about my medical team. I felt heard the entire time. I felt like in control of my treatment, although being only 10 years old. I felt like everything was up to me at the end of the day. I wasn't pushed to do anything that I didn't want to do, but more motivated and encouraged.
Have you ever felt hesitant to tell your medical team what you really thought or wanted? And if so, what was holding you back?
I'm speaking on behalf of siblings and my older sister. I think sometimes where we felt held back, we felt like if we were being completely honest, maybe our care would be centered towards another thing, maybe like mental health. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Now it's your turn. Do you want to ask me a question?
How are you going to make sure that patients have equal access to resources, services, and programs while at Sick Kids?
That is a great question. The equity in services and programs is incredibly important because everyone at Sick Kids should be treated equitably. One of our educational sessions we are starting is around health equity rounds for staff to discuss issues about the equity in care in a safe space so that they can talk about their own experiences and what they are potentially concerned about. You guys have been and will continue to be an essential part of our processes of how we can create the best type of space for our patients, that it is as inclusive as possible. And I'm very grateful for all the input that you have given us so far. I think everybody knows now why I thought we're going to talk to the Children's Council. They are always so thoughtful.
We want to thank Dr. Cohn and the Sick Kids Children's Council for being a part of our event today. Equity is incredibly important, and it's great to see how inclusive Sick Kids is. The final video message I would like to introduce is from Willa Black, who is the Vice President of Corporate Affairs at Cisco Canada. She will discuss the important role technology plays in children being seen and heard.
Hi everyone, my name is Willa Black and I'm responsible for CSR at Cisco Canada, and I'm coming to you from Toronto. I'm so happy to be here to help celebrate National Child's Day and support our amazing partners at Children First Canada. Now I think we're all realizing that more than ever, technology is playing an important role in helping all of us to share our voices so we can be seen and heard. About 10 years ago, we launched a program at Cisco called Connected North, which connects children in schools across the remote north over video technology to experience and resources that aren't available to them locally. Mentors, career planning, virtual field trips, health and wellness programs, arts and music, and so much more. We started in one school, and we're so proud that this week we welcomed our 100th school to the network, and now we serve over 20,000 K-12 students. We're helping them share their voices, their experiences, and their hopes and dreams, because we know that we can learn from them. And with technology, we can bring the world to their doorstep. For us, being seen and heard starts with equity. I'm working hard to make sure that nobody, no child or young person, is excluded from sharing their ideas and their perspectives. It makes Canada better. Technology helps us get there, and we're so proud to be working with Children First Canada. Thank you for all you do to make sure that kids' voices count.
Thank you so much to Willa, and it sounds like the Connected North program is making a positive difference in ensuring all children and youth have equal opportunities. No matter their geographical location, their voices can make an immense impact, and they are just as powerful as the rest of the world's. And speaking of powerful voices, it now gives me great pleasure to introduce Canadian basketball player Michael Linklater, who has established himself as one of the FIBA 3-on-3 world's top professional basketball players, and is a Team Canada member. Welcome, Michael. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today.
Thanks for having me.
And every time I talk to a professional athlete, I always like to hear their story. I want to know, when did you first pick up a basketball?
I believe I was 11 or 12 when I first picked up the ball. Really what happened was we came outside for recess and we just had a brand new basketball court built in the back of our schoolyard. And so when we came out, there was a lot of the students that just surrounded the basketball court, and the older students were playing. And I was a spectator at that time and had never touched a ball, was watching the game, and I was just inspired by watching some of the older kids play. And I said, you know, this is something I would like to give a shot. And I think it was the next recess I decided to pick up the basketball and haven't put it down since.
And you talked about recess. I just want to say I miss those days, those recess days. It's been a long time. And I know you just talked about how, you know, when you picked up the ball, you never wanted to put it down. What about the game sparked that love and interest?
I've always loved to run and always loved to be active. I was one of the kids that couldn't sit still in class. For me, I needed to be active. I needed to be busy. And so when I found the game, it was something that I had never done before. So it was interesting, it was challenging, and it was fascinating to me because a lot of my friends were much better than me. And as well, for me, playing a different sport, which was popular here in Saskatchewan, is either hockey or football. And our family didn't really have the means to play hockey. So basketball was something simple that I picked up, and I just loved the challenge. And it's something that I continue to, I guess, spill over into other things in life. I guess I'm always looking for challenges, and that's something that has always challenged me.
That mama mentality.
Yeah.
I understand that you suffered a tough upbringing with most of your family struggling from drug abuse and alcoholism. How did basketball fit in your life back then?
Yeah, I guess so. The household that I grew up in, there wasn't, I guess I wouldn't say that I suffered in my household, but a lot of my family members that surrounded our household, and really even members in my household, had previous experience with addictions. So to see a lot of my family really struggle with that was something that I learned really quickly. And even with my friends, like as I mentioned before, watching those older kids play basketball, they were already experimenting with drugs and alcohol at a very young age. And I saw really their level of play coming down. And as I practiced more, my level of play was going up. So I recognized, you know, the importance to abstain from drugs and alcohol. And to this day, I've never tasted a drop or have experimented. And that was something that was very important to me. But finding the basketball and recognizing that that was a vehicle that was going to be able to take me where I wanted to go in life. And so I made sure that I dedicated every bit of time that I had to developing my craft and just becoming the best player that I could possibly become.
And eventually, that process of you giving it your all and giving all of your effort for this sport, it paid off well. You're one of the top FIBA 3-on-3 players in the world and the top in Canada. How does it feel looking back at where you came from? Growing up in a tough neighborhood to now being known as a star and a role model for the youth?
When I look back, it's something, I don't really kind of sit or look back as much as maybe I should. But when I look back, I give thanks to all the people that supported me, but I also give thanks to the people who doubted me, because the ones who didn't believe in me were the voices that were echoing in my head when I personally didn't want to wake up at 6 a.m. for my first workout of the day. The voices that were saying I wasn't going to make it were the ones that were pushing me. And of course, the support and the people who did believe in me. But just looking back, it's something, I guess, that's been amazing. And I guess it stems from what my great aunt always told me. So my great aunt and her husband were the ones that raised me. And she talked about her voice being taken from her in residential school. And she always told me it's very important to express yourself. and never, I guess, taking no for an answer and always working to push myself was something that has always stayed with me. So looking back, I can attribute it to her and her pushing me to be like, don't let, a downfall be the end of you, continue to push past that. So looking back, those are some of the things that have really, really inspired me to continue to help and pass the torch on to the next generation of players.
And if we can change the subject from basketball to your campaign that you founded, the Boys with Braids. What is this campaign, and is it making a difference?
So Boys with Braids started when actually a number of years ago, but where it came from when I was a kid, because I have always had long hair myself, and it's a part of my culture, it's a part of my identity. And when I was young, I was teased and bullied in the school systems, and it was very, very harmful to me. It really affected me deeply. And fast forward into the future here, or present day, my own kids, my two boys, struggled into the school systems the same way I did, being teased and bullied for wanting to be proud of who they are. And so recognizing, of course, with social media, seeing a lot of other parents having some of the same struggles that I was going through and that my kids were going through, Boys with Braids was kind of created from that. And what it was is just a gathering for Indigenous, actually all walks of life, but to share some of the teachings of our Indigenous culture and why that we grow our hair, the significance of it, as well as to shine a light that this is an issue within our school systems for Indigenous boys, because a lot of them are cutting their hair because of the teasing and bullying. So I wanted to shine a light on that, and basically just created essentially a template which can have anybody in any different community host their own gathering with their own elders and teachings, as well as role models to share those teachings that have been passed down for generations.
And as we talk about embracing our culture, as young people, we often struggle to fit in and feel like we belong. Sometimes that means hiding parts of who we are in order to be accepted. How important is it for kids to embrace their differences rather than being ashamed of them?
I think it's arguably one of the most important things a child could do. Any youth, whatever they're going through or whatever they might be keeping inside, it's important to be able to share that. Again, mentioning when I was young, it was shared with me that anything that's inside that you're holding on to, it needs to come out. So you need to communicate those, you need to voice those, you need to share whatever's inside. And so if you are, I guess, ashamed of your culture, it's something that you would want to take a hard look at, because for me personally, growing up, I didn't want to be the same as everybody else. And I think our diversity as individuals is something that makes us unique and what makes us special. And if I can use an analogy, if you were going into purchase a piece of clothing or a vehicle or anything, or just looking at different options of where you could go to school, if every single thing was the same, how appealing would that be? So it's our diversity, it's the change, it's having a different look or perspective from something that really makes us unique and beautiful. Exactly. And so that's so important for us to embrace that.
And I want to, after the Toronto Raptors championship last year, and I'm still clinging on to that, this season was just practice, we didn't get eliminated. After we took home the championship back in 2019, it feels like more Canadian kids are picking up a basketball. I even noticed it in my neighborhood. My neighborhood used to be kids playing hockey outside, but I see kids from my neighborhood on courts, taking some shots and just embracing this newfound sport. What would you say to all of the kids in Canada who have dreams of playing at a professional level like you?
Most importantly is you have to believe in yourself. Everyone who I've sat with in terms of panels who played at the top levels and are very successful, the common denominator is always the same. They believed in themselves. So if it's something that you really, really, really want, then you just continue to believe in yourself and know that if that's something you want, you're going to have to work towards it. And the only person that is going to stop you from achieving that dream or that goal is yourself. It's not your friends, it's not your parents, it's not your peers, it's you. So if you listen to the people that doubt you, you're going to stop yourself. if you continue to listen to yourself and in wanting to aspire to those dreams, those goals, then you're going to make it a reality. And I would, wish you the best. But for those who are just starting out, keep it fun. Have fun.
Keep it fun. And my last question to you is, our message for this event is for kids to be seen and heard. What does this mean to you?
What it means to me is that, and I don't know if our kids or our youth today understand really how powerful their voice is or their communication, because there are some kids that literally do not have a voice. It is so important and it is so powerful when youth share their experiences or share their thoughts or their feelings. Because when an adult says something and a youth says the exact same thing, it's more powerful coming from the youth. And it's something that I think a lot of youth may take for granted in terms of not recognizing really how powerful, what they share or what they communicate is. So when you hear, somebody like me, an old guy sharing something, it's more powerful when it comes from a youth that's sharing the exact same perspective, because there's just something different about it. And talking about diversity, having a diverse voice coming from somebody who is younger, that has their whole future ahead of them, I think is important. So to hear that is really powerful. And something that was shared with me was that, an elder once shared that we don't inherit the land from our parents, we're borrowing it from our children. So when we take that perspective, when we're looking at this is the next generation's world, and us as adults, how do we want to leave it for them? So when we have a youth say, this is what we want for our future, it's powerful. It actually gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, because your voices are so powerful.
And I want to thank you, Michael, for joining all of us today. And I'm sure all of the young athletes that are in the meeting that are watching enjoyed hearing your words and your stories. So thank you so much, and we wish you all the best with your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to introduce a series of videos that were submitted by young people across the country who will share what it means to be seen and heard. First up, from Central Canada, I introduce Talita Bueno, who is a Children First Canada Youth Advisor Council member.
Hi, my name is Talia and I'm from Vaughan, Ontario. National Child Day is important to me as it is the celebration of society's acknowledgement and prioritization of children's rights in order to promote and foster their physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. What Seen and Heard means to me is to provide children with a platform that they can use to express their ideas and opinions in regards to issues that affect both their present and their future. An excellent example of this would be the Young Canadian Parliament event that is held by Children's First Canada. At this event, children can engage in meaningful discussions pertaining to issues such as climate change, racial inequality, and mental health. And by engaging in these conversations, children are empowered with information, which will hopefully give them the confidence that they can use to tackle and address these issues that may be present in their
Ontario, et je siège actuellement au poste de président de la Fédération des jeunes francophones du Nouveau-Brunswick. J'habite actuellement à Grand-Sault, au Nouveau-Brunswick. Pour moi, la Journée nationale des enfants est une journée afin de célébrer la jeunesse canadienne qui s'implique et qui s'engage à faire une différence. À travers le réseau jeunesse, j'ai eu la chance de rencontrer des gens extraordinaires qui changent et qui changeront notre monde. Le hashtag Vu et Entendu permet à la jeunesse canadienne de s'exprimer sur la réalité de leur région. En tant que jeunes francophones, on doit continuellement se battre afin de préserver notre langue et de se faire entendre. Nous ne sommes pas seulement les leaders de demain, mais nous sommes les leaders d'aujourd'hui et nous façonnons notre monde. Bonne journée nationale des jeunes.
I want to thank Simon. For being a part of our event today, and I think it's so important to promote the learning of a second language to all of the youth in Canada. And I'm thankful that my parents sent me to a French immersion school. Alors, merci beaucoup. And heading to the prairies, I would now like to introduce Jalak Bata, who is a volunteer for the Youth Central in Calgary.
Hello, my name is Jalak Bata. I'm a volunteer under Youth Central, Calgary, Alberta. National Child Day to me means a celebration and recognition of the privilege we have as children in Canada. For me, National Child Day holds a special importance, as it allows me to recognize, understand, and appreciate the liberty I have. I immigrated from a country where the basic rights of a child are not recognized enough, or sometimes not at all. The privilege I'm granted with every day is not what every child receives, and being able to celebrate its existence is the importance National Child Day holds for me. For children to be seen and heard means to recognize and understand the presence of a child and their point of view. Due to age stigmas, many kids are not heard even if they're seen by the people that surround them. But the age factor, once put aside, can help you see children and the things they say in equal importance to an adult. Children need to be seen and heard. Happy National Child Day.
I want to thank you, Jay, for participating in National Child Day. And like you talked about, the voice of a child can be just as powerful. And here in Canada, I'm glad that I have the opportunity to speak up on what affects me. So thanks again. Now heading to the north of Yukon, we will hear from Kluan Adamek, who is the Yukon Regional Chief, Assembly of First Nations.
Hi, my name is Audrey. I'm from Whitehorse, Yukon. Now you're going to see my auntie Kawani. Bye.
Sanche, hi everyone. Kwani Adamek Uye, Dakwalady Ayahat. Agayo Hatuasao, Kuan Mantai Uche, Ganachchish, Kwanlandime, Ganachchish Ta'an. My name is Kwani Adamek and I am the Yukon Regional Chief. Really honored to join you on International Day of the Child. I'm here with my nieces Kona, Audrey, and Pippa. We're coloring today and we're talking about how important it is to be you and how important it is that our children, our next generation, continue to be seen and heard. So today is the day that we really think about that and create space to talk about voices, talk about listening, right? Listening with our ears,
Yeah.
talking with our mouths, and making sure that we listen to all kids and know how they feel and make sure that we're doing everything as we can as adults to make sure that kids are protected and that they're safe. Want to say Nananuchi?
Nananuchi.
I want to thank the Regional Chief Adamek for participating in National Child Day. And from the West, I would like to introduce Apolline Deshatson, who is in Vancouver and will discuss her work to support a charity called the Treehouse Child and Youth Advocacy Center.
Hi everybody, my name is Apolline, and 3 years ago, a group of friends and I convinced a panel of judges that Treehouse, a refuge for abused children, needed a $5,000 grant the most. We convinced them by telling 4 stories of children with violent guardians in the form of a slam poem. To us, these stories were merely fictional until we heard from the team of professionals responding to child abuse at the Treehouse that these scenarios happen in the children they help. Since then, I have worked passionately in children's recreational learning, and I've had the privilege of watching kids learn through play, which is something that all children should be granted. And with the help of Treehouse, they are making this a possibility for more and more kids. And with this growing community, soon every child will be seen, heard, and valued the way that they should be.
Thank you, Apolline, for being a part of National Child Day. It's amazing to see how much passion you put into ensuring the rights of children. We're all excited to see what you'll do next. Like I said earlier, through my role as a CBC Kids News contributor, I've had the chance to meet some pretty awesome people. And in April, I had the opportunity to interview the Prime Minister of Canada. I asked him questions submitted by kids from across the country about the pandemic. And it's not often that you get to hear directly from the leader of a nation. Here he is now with the message for National Child Day.
Hello everyone, bonjour à tous, and thank you Arjun for that introduction, and happy National Child Day. Today we are reminded of the limitless potential of young Canadians. And we stand together to uphold the rights of children, both here in Canada and around the world. For starters, I want to thank Children First Canada for hosting this year's virtual event and for the work they do to make children's lives better in every community across our country. As a father of 3 kids, I know how incredibly important it is for children to be seen and heard. You are the future of our country. And with the right tools and supports, all of you have the potential to be the leaders we need tomorrow, but also today. So we must make sure that you not only have a voice, but that those voices are heard. Because every child deserves a fair and equal chance at success. And that's why, since 2015, you, our kids, have been at the heart of our government's plan to build a better Canada. On a pris des mesures importantes concernant les changements climatiques. On a investi pour créer plus d'emplois pour les jeunes. Et on s'assure que tous les jeunes ont accès à une bonne alimentation, à des soins de santé et à une éducation de qualité. Mais il reste encore tellement à faire. This year, we celebrate at a particularly difficult time. The COVID-19 pandemic has drastically changed the way we go about our daily lives. And for all of you, the change has been even more difficult. So, as we continue to address the impacts of this crisis, we will make sure that our kids across the country are safe, cared for, and supported. We can only create a better future and more resilient Canada if we all work together. So I'm counting on all of you to get involved. Raise your hand and use your voice to make Canada the best place for kids to grow up. Once again, happy National Child Day. Merci pour tout ce que vous faites.
And we want to thank Mr. Trudeau for taking the time through your day and sending us this video. I would now like to introduce a few special videos from Erin O'Toole, who is the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Marie-Hélène Gill, who is the Member of Parliament for the Bloc Québécois, Jagmeet Singh, the leader of Canada's NDP, and Annamie Paul, who is the leader of the Green Party of Canada. Check these out.
Hello, I'm Erin O'Toole, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. I'm a military veteran, a lawyer, and a member of Parliament, but my most important jobs are as a husband and father of 2 amazing kids. So as a dad who happens to be a politician, I'm excited to be with you virtually for National Child Day. As a parent, I know that children are facing more adversity than ever before amid this pandemic. My wife Rebecca and I are proud of our children, Molly and Jack. Raising our kids is the greatest joy. It's also our greatest responsibility. Family, community, and service have always motivated me since I was a young person. This is why I joined the military. It's also why I've made time to be a volunteer in my community before I stood for office. I want to ensure that Canada is the best place in the world for kids to grow up, and I want to make sure there are opportunities for children from all backgrounds. My driving goal is to ensure that Canada passes on a stronger, more resilient, more inclusive, and greener country to our children. Our duty is to tackle issues facing our country so that we live up to that commitment. Too many children today grow up in poverty and without access to a wider support network. Too many children are experiencing anxiety and rising mental health challenges with the connected nature of social media that has also allowed for cyberbullying and other issues to rise dramatically. We need to listen to young leaders as we tackle these challenges as a society and as a country. I want to make sure our country is a land that leaves no child behind, a land where we all have a place to flourish. That's what I want for Molly and Jack. That's what I want for all of you.
Bonjour, ici Marie-Hélène Gill, députée de Manicouagan et porte-parole du Bloc québécois en matière de famille, enfants et développement social. Je me trouve présentement sur la colline parlementaire à Ottawa, dans mon bureau. Et je suis heureuse de pouvoir vous dire un court mot pour vous exprimer à quel point une journée nationale de l'enfant est importante pour moi. Non seulement parce que je suis une maman moi-même de 3 enfants, mais aussi parce que mon travail, il est fait pour eux également. Donc, je suis là pour les défendre, les protéger, répondre à leurs besoins et bien sûr, comme nous tous, les aimer. Et enfin, pourquoi est-ce que les enfants, c'est important qu'ils soient vus, qu'ils soient entendus? Eh bien, c'est expressément pour pouvoir faire le travail que je fais. Ils peuvent parler par eux-mêmes, ils ont des idées, ils ont des rêves, ils ont des volontés. Et moi, comme élu, je suis là pour les porter au sein du Parlement. Merci.
Hi, friends. Today is National Child Day, and it's a day for us to celebrate children. To the adults and allies that want to help out kids, I know we all want to do whatever we can to make sure kids have a brighter future. We've got to tackle child poverty. We've got to make sure that there's no barriers for kids. When it comes to education and learning, they need to learn and pursue whatever they want. And to the kids listening, I know it sometimes feels like it's hard to have a voice and it's hard to have your ideas out there, but I want you to know you matter. Make sure you share your ideas and how you want to see this world become a better place. I know that it's hard to believe, but when I first ran in politics, it was actually young kids that couldn't even vote. Maybe kids a bit older than you that were the ones that actually organized and helped get me elected. So I've seen the power of kids up front. So as much as it's hard to believe in yourself. You can make a massive difference. Your ideas and what you want to see the world look like matter, so speak up.
Hello, my name is Annemie Paul, and I'm the leader of the Green Party of Canada, and this is
Malachi, her son, one of two.
And where are we, Malachi?
We're at our place
in
Toronto.
That's right. We've been here for a while because of COVID, and so it's been really nice being here with my son because on National Child Day and every day I think about how being the leader of this party gives me an opportunity to help my children. It gives me the opportunity to help children all across this country and children all around the world, and that means a lot to me. And it's something that gives me energy. It's something that helps me to stay focused. The Green Party of Canada is a party that wants to make sure that there is a future and a sustainable and just future for all children. And I'm going to keep working hard every day to make sure that I do my part to see that happen. And when I think about National Child Day, I think about just the value of the voice of children. My children, Malachi was a fantastic help for me during my campaign and my other son as well. And all of the children, and there were children that helped us on our campaign. And so I know that we will always be better and stronger when we have the perspectives of young people at the table. And so on National Child Day, as we think about children being seen and heard, we should remember that young people and children are already leaders. They're leading our climate movement. They're leading our movement to dismantle systemic discrimination. And that leadership is something that we should all celebrate and we should build upon. And so on behalf of the Green Party of Canada, I say to every young person and every child, happy National Child Day. Your contribution is welcome. We want you. We hope that you'll join us, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
And we want to thank all four of the political leaders for taking time to participate in our virtual event today. And I am now pleased to introduce the final segment for today's event, and that is our youth panel. Today, I'm joined by Lyric Becker, who is a Children First Canada Youth Advisory Council member. I'm also joined by Megan Jack, who is a co-chair of the Children First Canada Youth Advisory Council and a member of Children First Canada's Canadians Parliament. And last but not least, I am joined by Caitlin Fernandez, who is a member of Children First Canada's Youth Canadians Parliament. I want to thank all of you for being here. And I want to start off with you, Lyric. You're 13, so I imagine you're currently in grade 8, correct?
Grade 9. I'm just
grade 9. Oh, okay, sorry. And how has this school year been for you so far?
You know what? It's really weird. There's a lot of jumping back and forth between at-home learning and then going back to school for like a week, and then no, never mind, you have to go back home. So it's definitely, I think the best word to describe this year would be disrupted. It's not going to be a normal year for learning at all.
I can relate. It's my first year of high school, and before I didn't even know what was going on. I was really confused. I want to move on to you, Megan. You're 17, and you have a lot of experience working with student council. I was on the student council last year, and I found it was at times difficult to collaborate with people who maybe didn't have the same interests or didn't have the same ideas with you. What was the biggest lesson you've learned working with people your age?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned while working with people my age on student council is we have to make the most of everyone's strengths. We have all of our differences, and that's actually what makes us strong and what allows us to have a powerful voice. We just have to find the perfect way to make that work, and that's part of what Turns First is doing so perfectly, because we're using people from different backgrounds. We're getting people that comes from all around Canada to work together to create one strong, powerful message. And that's what I've mostly learned.
And Caitlin, if I could move on to you, from your bio, it sounds like you're crazy involved in a number of activities. Like there's just a long list of them. How do they help you feel seen and heard?
Well, I think it's because being in all these sort of activities and extracurriculars, I am able to learn about a lot of opinions, a lot of issues, and through learning and all those experiences, I feel that I'm more empowered now, and I realize the amount of strength that my voice has to speak about these issues and problems that I've learned from other people. So to me, being seen and heard is knowing that the opinion I have to give is valid and it's worth something when I say it.
And I want to get all of your responses for this question. How can we get politicians to react and to act on what matters to kids?
So I would think that for politicians to listen to us, we've had a really good opportunity with the Young Canada's Parliament. It's been an amazing opportunity for a lot of youth around Canada to bring their opinions forward. And I think there's a lot of strength in numbers, clearly. So when we're all able to come together, and whether we voice our opinion on social media or in our school or in any other platform, it's strong and it's matter because we're heard. And it brings awareness to everyone.
I totally concur what Caitlin has said. The Young Canadian Parliament is a wonderful opportunity for everyone, and it's easy to have a voice through the Young Canadian Parliament. But it's not the only opportunity out there, and I believe that one way we can get politicians to hear us is if we never stop. We just have to use all of those opportunities out there. You're doing great work too with TBC Kids News. That's one way a child can be heard. Social media is one. Just like Caitlin said, number is key, but we never have to stop. We're not going to get heard the first time we say something. But if we keep on saying it again and again and again until we don't have any other choice but to listen, at some point they're going to have to see us and to hear us for real.
I mean, like the others have said, strength in numbers is a really important part of it. If one person says it, what's the chance that you're going to be seen among the thousands, the millions of people that are posting online every day? But when you get a group together, it doesn't matter if they're different ages, if they're different beliefs. If they all have a collective interest in it, that's when you get heard. If you're saying it because, you know, it's important, but you're not really super invested in the cause, it's never going to get heard. But if you are passionate about this, if you're singing it out there loud, you will be heard.
And I think that what Lyric just mentioned, I think that relates a lot to the big role that social media plays in our life, because we can go online and we can post about something, but it's not necessarily making a bigger impact than we thought it would, right? So what would you say to encourage kids as a piece of advice in order to go out there and get involved in various different causes?
Well, for myself, I've always been someone who can't just sit down and let others get a problem done. I can see ways that I could go out there and help, and I don't want to sit down and wait for someone else to realize that they have an idea that'll work. And I think the best way to do this is ask around. If you don't know where to start to get involved with things, you can go maybe to your teacher, just to start with your own school, and talk to your teacher about how you can get your school doing something. And then from there, you might be able to talk to the board of the school or other larger audiences until what you're interested in can become something lots of people are interested in.
Well, for me, and we've talked about that recently in one of the Youth Advisory Council meetings, I believe that step approach to advisory is very important, and it's a great way for everyone to start doing something. Not everyone has to do a big action to support issues that are important for them. Just having a conversation with your friends or parents is already a good thing to do. You're not forced to do something big. Just doing one little step, one step at a time, is better than not doing anything at all. And if everyone does their little thing, we're going to have a bigger impact than if only one or two people does a big thing. So for me, it's a lot about just encouraging everyone to do a little something, which is better than nothing.
And Caitlin, you can start off with this question. We just got an audience question here. What can you all do to get more kids involved? And Caitlin, we'll start with you for that. Sorry, I think you're muted. While Caitlin fixes that problem, we'll move on to you, Lyric. What is your response to the question that what can you all do to get more kids involved?
So when you want to get other people involved, honestly, it's just a matter of asking around. It's, hey, are you interested in this? You might get a lot of no's. I mean, when I'm trying to get people invested in something, I get a lot of no's. I get a lot of Lyric, that's weird. But every now and then you're going to find those people who they might come up to you themselves. They might have heard it from someone else, and they're going to ask you, hey, are you that person that's kind of interested in whatever it is? And you'll start gathering a group, whether it's just a thing you're interested in for your own fun, or if it's something that you want to raise awareness about. Yeah. The only thing you can really do is just put it out there as much as possible, because the less you say about it, the less people you're going to be able to have invested in your cause.
And Caitlin is we'll move on to you if the problem has. Oh, we can't. Okay, well, okay, we'll go to Megan then.
I think that it's about personalizing your message to whoever you're talking about. If, for example, I'm talking to one of my friends who is interested in arts, well, I'm going to target my message in a way that makes her interested. If I'm talking to somebody who's interested in science, I'm going to make sure that that person finds his interest in whatever I'm trying to get him interested about. So yes, as Lyric said, number is key. The more you talk about it, the more people have a chance of hearing about it and saying yes. If you ask 10%, out of 10%, one might say yes. But if you ask 20, then you have 2, 33. So it's about numbers too, but it's about targeting your message so that you can masterize, like asking that person.
And by the responses that we've been getting from everyone, we can all tell how passionate you are about making sure that kids understand their fundamental rights. Do you see yourself in the future being more involved in the advocacy of children, and do you see this involvement as a career path?
As for myself, this child advocacy, I think is really important. I have people in my family who have been working for quite some time in advocating for children's rights. And so I've kind of grown up in that kind of environment where children are seen and heard. And when I hear about stories of children that aren't getting their rights met, they have ideas, but they don't know where to start, that makes me want to have a way to help them, to go out there, even as an adult someday, and say, hey, listen, we can all do something. We might not have the means yet, but we can all go out there and share our voice, and that's important. So I can definitely see that being a career path for myself someday.
And Megan, if it's working, we'll move on to you for this.
Well, I've always considered myself as an activist deep down in my heart, so I'll keep on doing what I can to have people's voices heard, especially that there's still work to do in Canada. I mean, we've probably all seen the Raising Canada report that says that right now, the leading cause of death for children aged 10 to 14 is suicide, and mental health is an issue that I'm very concerned about. So I'll probably move on from children's right to mental health and health in general as I go into medicine in my future career. But advocacy will be a part of my life, no matter how it is or if it's just supporting other children in the future.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? All right, perfect. Yeah, I have always been a huge fan, as Megan said, well, not a fan, but supporter and advocate for mental health. And it's a big part of my work and daily life, especially with COVID-19 and everything. I've seen it around me, and I've seen it in many people throughout the world, how it's especially affected children. And I just want everyone to know that in the future.
Sorry, I think you cut out there, Caitlin. But I want to thank all of you for joining us. It's always great. Like I said, for all of our other youth members, it's always great to get the perspective of young people. And I thank all of you, and we're all excited to see what you'll do next and what more you'll do to ensure that kids understand that they have a voice and that it matters. So thanks again. And thank you so much for a great conversation to our youth panelists. And for all of the young people listening from all across Canada, if you are inspired with ideas and ready to take action, you can apply for a youth-led community service grant at risingyouth.ca. To learn more about how you can take action, let's hear from grade 12 student Farah Algawish.
Hi, I am Farah Algawish. I'm a 15-year-old high school student in Edmonton, Alberta, and I am so honored to be celebrating National Child Day. We should all appreciate such a unique day. Applying to Rising Youth Grant was such a smooth process that I highly encourage you to take. And it is fairly easy with all the help you get from this truly dedicated team. They guide you through the process quite smoothly and will help with anything. It is simple. You just need to know how much you're applying for and fill your application form, and then you get the grant and make it happen. You can always get help from this amazing crew by emails or through meetings. And please, keep an eye out for the workshops coming in December. Those are a great chance to get to know more about the projects or the grants and get any help that you need with completing your projects. I highly recommend these workshops. And also, don't forget to follow the link in the chat to register for an upcoming brainstorming workshop with Rising Youth. See you there. Bye.
And we want to thank Farah for being a part of our event today. Thanks again. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in from coast to coast to coast. Thanks to all our guests who took the time to attend our event today or sent us pre-recorded videos. Children represent a quarter of Canada's population and 100% of our future. We are citizens with rights, opinions, and ideas. Kids deserve to have a say in decisions that affect their lives, and adults have the duty to listen. Today, I had the opportunity to listen to the voices from kids across our nation, and while they were through a screen, they remain just as powerful and important. Our main topic of discussion today was the importance of being seen and heard. And I hope all of the young people that attended our event today understood that their voices and actions can make an immense impact on the world. I want to thank Children's First Canada and CBC Kids News for choosing me to host this event today. It was truly an honor. Until next time, everyone, and happy National Child Day. Thank you.